motivation is so, it's fleeting, right? It's oh man, I watched the video. I watched this podcast. I watched Trying to Be Somebody podcast. I'm motivated. I'm ready to go. 2 days later, I'm depressed. What am I doing with my life? You know, that's when discipline has to kick in, and that's what a lot of people lack. Is they don't necessarily lack the motivation, they lack the discipline, and that's the biggest key that's kind of helped me.
I'm just trying to be somebody. So make a way, make a way, make a way.
Hello everyone, I'm Hallease, endeavoring to persevere as always, and welcome back to the final episode of season 2 of the Trying to Be Somebody video podcast, where I interview mostly people of color in their creative careers with the goal of helping you. So as y'all know, season 2 has been all around the idea of knowing your worth and making sure to be true to that. But as I've produced this season and reached out to people to interview, another theme quickly emerged, and that theme was around mental health, taking care of yourself, seeking out help when you need it. And I have really embraced and enjoyed the fact that that sort of second theme or sub theme has been trickling through this entire season, because when you look at the data, this is something that we should all be talking about. Whether you're an artist or not, a creative or not, 40% of Americans in the US are currently either anxious or depressed. 40%. Also here in the US, it takes the average American 11 years to seek mental health services. 11 years. And so with that being said, I am so excited to have today's guest on the podcast, which is Rome Green Jr. You probably know him from the comedic group Dormtainment. He has been on the internet in some form or fashion for at least the past decade, telling jokes, being funny, haha, giving us tons and tons of laughs. And while I think he may come off in that persona as chaotic and sporadic and just going with things, in the background, he has actually made it a priority for himself to be very disciplined in how he approaches his routines, his career goals, his overall happiness, and trying to seek out that happiness, his mental health as well. And so in the first half of the podcast, we're going to get into some of those routines with him, because I think those are really good overall mental wellness routines that he talks about. And I think we can all, in some form or fashion, apply these ideas to our own life. It is about taking those slow, consistent, incremental steps to get to where you hopefully want to be, which I think is, I hope for you, a happier state of mind. So yeah, let's talk to Rome.
We just had a conversation, me and my business partner, talking about automation, delegation, and elimination, right? And as a creator and as a business person, each one of those things are so different, right? And each one of those things require a different level of yourself. Like automation, you got to go and figure out what in your business that you trust technology to take care of. Delegation, you got to figure out what you trust to let another human take care of. Elimination is you got to trust yourself to figure out what you need to eliminate. And so all three of those things are so different. And I just realized that automation, I had the easiest time with, because I feel like I'm like, oh, technology, you got it. We could just set you up and you're good to go. Delegation, I had a little bit of issues with. I didn't really start delegating my life and business until last year, which when I started, I was like, I should have been doing this. What am I doing? Because us as creators, which I'm sure you know as well, we tend to want to do it all. Mm-hmm. We want to have the cake, the cookies, the ice cream, and eat it all too, for sure. But we just don't have the capacity and bandwidth, if we really think about it, if we want to be our maximized selves. So I got better at delegating, still working on some few things, but eliminating, that's the toughest part, because that takes a level of vulnerability and trust within myself to be like, do I need to stop this right now? Does this need to happen right now? Do I need to put any more time and energy into this project, this person, this business, this whatever it is, this lifestyle? Elimination is by far the hardest out of all three of those. And I'm realizing that from the top of this year, which is interesting. Yeah.
That's also, I actually am fascinated because I know you've been working full time as a creative for at least the past decade, like at least.
A little over 10 years, yeah.
Yeah. And so I just find it really interesting that you're just now at over 10 years in doing this. Like, yeah. One, how have you like survived for 10 years?
I was blessed with a team, so that made that, that's a little different. I wasn't Dormtainment in itself. We were a unit, so it wasn't like I needed to find a bunch of delegate. We were there, So if I was by myself, sure, it probably would have came maybe a long time ago. Like, hey, I can't. So, but now doing the other smaller businesses like Shady Side Up and like Boss Talk podcast and things like that, and then just other like commercial projects, stuff like that. It's like, okay, I need to delegate some calendar stuff over here, some assistant stuff over here, whatever that is. So now that I'm moving into avenues solo and with maybe one partner, which is Cam for Shady Side Up, now it's like, okay, we have to rebuild teams on those ends and stuff like that. So because I do a lot. I'm the host of our Comedy Trap House podcast. I'm a host of my Boss Talk podcast. I act in commercials and write, and then I have Shady Side Up as a business and all these. So all the four of those things are big things to be focused on. So I had to figure out, okay, what can I lend something to? Or I have a business coach. So me and my business coach were talking, and she was like, picture them all as little babies, little kids, right? And you got to figure out what kid is running around naked and what kid needs to put some clothes on. You know what I'm saying? She's like, you can't have all your babies running around naked. You know what I'm saying? She was like, right now you have clothes on babies so like Comedy Trap House, for example, that has a team around it. You don't necessarily have to be taking care of the full baby. Just come in and feed the baby. So just host it. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. And then podcast, my other podcast, that, and then stuff like that. She was like, right now, you're leaving your Shady Side Up unclothed, and that's the one you need to be putting some clothes on at this point right now, which is fine because then maybe next quarter you'll do something else. I had to start breaking my life down into quarters instead of thinking as the whole year, because that would get overwhelming sometimes. And I'm like, I can't even think about December 2023 right now. That sounds crazy. Yeah. We could have another podcast December, and I'll be like, you know what? All that stuff I was talking about in January, doesn't matter. Because you never know what happens. You might. What if I get booked for a movie for 6 months? Well, that shifts everything. Yeah. It just shifts everything. So I like to just kind of let life happen in moments, and those moments lead to a lifetime of the memory. So I think that's how it kind of works for me.
I remember when I was first starting StumbleWell and starting to make that transition from like working full time for somebody to working full time for myself. And I realized like in the past when I was a W-2, I could totally be like, here's what I'm doing for a year, like totally plan my life. And then, once I started transitioning to working for myself, I too had a shift of like thinking, and I realized like I can only think like 3 to 4 months in advance. Like, because everything's in flux. Like, and I think you kind of have to have that level of flexibility to be able to like pivot if you need to, especially as an entrepreneur. Like,
absolutely. And that's where I think my routine is very important. Routine and discipline. I'm an avid book reader, so I was reading the book Discipline is Destiny by Ryan Holiday. Phenomenal book. And it just basically kind of shits on motivation, because motivation is it's fleeting, right? It's oh man, I watched the video. I watched this podcast. I watched Trying to Be Somebody podcast. I'm motivated. I'm ready to go. 2 days later, I'm depressed. What am I doing with my life? You know, that's when discipline has to kick in, right? So he kind of talks about how discipline is an ongoing. Discipline is a lifestyle, and motivation is just a like in the moment type of thing. We all need motivation, great. But when motivation wears out, you got to fill that tank with discipline. So that's where like my routines come in, like my lifestyle of fitness, my lifestyle of reading, my lifestyle of meditation, my lifestyle of getting up early. Like the other day, I was so mad because it was early in the morning and I got up to get ready to go to the gym and I was exhausted kind of. And I was like, why am I doing? There's no point. Like, what am I doing? I don't have to get up early to do this. Then I start thinking about my why. Oh, because I want to be healthy. Oh, because when I'm on sets for movies, I'm going to have to get up early in the mornings and be ready for this and be ready to go. Oh, I want to be in best tip-top shape so I can play with my future kids and be there for my wife and my grandmother and my mom and my aunts and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, I can go to the gym now. So these things help. Motivation wasn't there. I was like, I don't want to go. But then I tapped back into my why, got back into my routine, and understood that this is where discipline has to take over. And that's what a lot of people lack, is they don't necessarily lack the motivation, they lack the discipline. And that's the biggest key that's kind of helped me like plan for certain things. I know if I just stay disciplined, and then I'm always going to reference books. There's another book called The Compound Effect that talks about how small changes every day compound over time. That's why compound interest is so powerful. People will say, all right, would you rather take $1 million now or $1 every day for the next certain amount of time? They're not realizing that dollar every day is going to trump that 1 million after a certain amount of interest and gains on top of each other and all these things like that. So it talks about doing that same thing in life. Like, yeah, you can try to go to the gym and diet hard for 3 months, or you can say, you know what, I'm going to take this year and let every day kind of compound on top of each other and get the best result. So that's kind of how I live now. And it helps me, especially when I'm writing or anything like that. I'm like, you don't have to write the whole script today. Let's write 1 page for the next 8 weeks. You got 8 pages or whatever, if you want to do that. If you want to write a book, all right, this is 365 days in a year. I want to write a book. My book wants to be 200 pages. Let's just try to write a page a day, or let's try to write a page a week, or break it down like that. You get so much more done. It's not as overwhelming.
So it's interesting to hear you talk about this, because it's like, it's not a foreign concept to me.
Yeah, for sure.
But just the idea, it's like you're mixing different concepts of like the 12-week year of like thinking in terms of quarters, for example. Like people often overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in just 3 months. But then you're also taking it in just like the idea of like building on top of each other and allowing something to take way longer than I think most people would assume it would. It's just really interesting to hear your process, because I definitely hear bits of myself in that. I wanted to come back though to your example of going to the gym and the why. I know for me, something I've struggled with professionally is the motivation is there and ironically steady. I think I'm kind of weird in that for me, motivation usually isn't too hard for me to find, you know? I'm a very self-motivated person. My struggle is learning like my why just isn't strong enough. So even when I have bad days like that of like, oh man, I don't feel like doing this, and then I try to come back to my why, it's like, but is that why even a why though? Like,
yeah. Is that why a real why, or did I see that why on a calendar somewhere and I was like, you know what I'm saying?
You know?
Yeah, that's true, because it took me. Sometimes unfortunately, sometimes it takes either health scares for people, or like if you talk about the gym, for example, or it takes a tragedy, or sometimes, and they're like, oh, now I got my why. It's hard sometimes to have a why when life is going good. Sometimes you're like, you know, what I need a why for, you know? So I think that's when you have to dig into your future self. I like to talk to my future self sometimes. Like, what will my future self look back at me right now and be like, come on, bro, like, you know better. Like, how you think we got here? We can't get here if you don't go now, like if you don't do that. So I try to go into the future what my future self would think, even when it comes to certain projects. Let's say there's a project and maybe they pay a little bit less than I want to, and I'm like, oh, should I do it? Should I not? Future self would be like, listen, act like you're already there. Don't take it if you don't want to take it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Stand 10 toes down, stand on what you believe in. And I think that helps me sometimes when I'm like, what's my why really look like? I was like, if I can't think of that, I'm like, all right, future me, how would we act in this situation? If you had all the money in the world, the time in the world, would you do this opportunity or would you not? You know, and sometimes you easily see like, no, I wouldn't do it. I'm only doing it for the money. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, all right, let me not do that. That helps me. That's helped me a ton when in certain situations, especially when I didn't have any money. I'm like, no. I'm like, I can't. This integrity of mine. I don't want to do this. Granted, we've all sometimes done it. You're like, all right, but I need to eat. But then you start to get to a point where like, all right, I don't want to compromise my art, and you know how us artists is. You know, I don't want to do this. Sometimes I get on my nerves with that. We're all there. We've all been around each other, creators. We just love our art to death. And we're like, you know, we can't. I don't want it to be seen in this light, as you know. And it's like, bro, just do the project. You're gonna be all right. It's fine.
Yes. It's interesting that you mention your future self too, because I'll something I'll do a lot is I'll find myself, instead of like you said, you think about your future self when you're making decisions. I often will see the repercussions, both positive and negative, of what past Hallease did. And so I'll find myself thanking my past self or scorning my past self.
Okay, I got you.
I started to realize, okay, if I just start thinking in terms of, do I want to be happy about past Hallease or mad at past Hallease, I started making present decisions very different.
Got you.
And
That makes sense too.
Like,
that's a good way.
Yeah, it's like now like once or twice a week, I'm like, thanks, past Hallease. Hey, y'all, a quick break. Thank you so much for listening so far with Rome. I hope you're enjoying the podcast episode. Some quick announcements. First things first, if you're watching us here on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. That really helps us out algorithmically. And comment down below to engage. Let me know how you're feeling about the podcast so far. Likewise, if you're listening to us wherever you get your podcasts, please rate us there. 5 stars is preferred, but we love constructive criticism as much as the next person, so feel free to do that. 5 stars is preferred though. And if you want to take things a step further, consider joining the Patreon, patreon.com/Hallease. There you get early access to these podcast episodes, exclusive content, and merch. It's a really good time. Big shout out to our Patreon producers for continuing to support this podcast and the channel. Really appreciate you. And finally, when I am not here online telling stories or interviewing other creatives for you, I also teach. I am a teacher on Skillshare, and over there I have a variety of classes around different aspects of production, whether it be knowing how to light yourself with just a window or maybe a modest lighting kit, or how to edit yourself and tell your own story using Adobe Premiere Pro or After Effects. I teach over there. I am a top teacher on the platform as well, so not to toot my own horn, but I'm a top teacher, so the classes are pretty good, if I do say so myself. And so if you're interested, I will include a link in the description box and the show notes to get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. And hey, listen, pop on over there, take my classes, mark your calendar when that 1 month is up, and then dip. Okay. Also keep in mind, I'm not the only top teacher on the platform. There are many other amazing teachers teaching so much cool stuff over there. So listen, get that 1 month free trial, get your life together, get that 1 month free trial, time it out. Okay. Do what you need to do and then bounce. So for the second half of the podcast, Rome and I are actually going to talk about what it means to be in the middle of your career. Because, and I'm going to manifest this for you. I'm going to speak this for you. If you are someone who's starting out, you're in the weeds of it. Maybe you're not bringing in much income from it. Maybe you're still trying to develop your style, all of that, your unique voice, whatever it may be. I pray for you that one day you get to the middle where, you've established yourself. Maybe you're not living project to project anymore. People are starting to recognize you're getting that external validation hit, but also your internal validation is quite strong. And yet there are still things that you are striving for that you haven't quite hit. I think this is a very interesting and pivotal place to hit in your creative career, because in this space, in this middle, where you will probably spend the bulk of your career, by the way, you now have to decide what truly matters to you outside of social constructs. And it can be a very interesting and like pivotal time. So is it fame? Is it fortune? Is it, certain financial gains? Maybe it is. Or maybe it is just, I really want to just be able to do this, or I really want to just be able to do that. In this middle space, you finally have the space to define what success is for you. And I think sometimes when people hit this phase, it can often feel like maybe you're settling or giving up, in so few words. But I don't think it usually is that, actually. I think it's just you learning and repositioning your mindset and actually transitioning your life to enable you to prioritize what you truly value. And so as we continue with the interview and the episode, if none of this is resonating for you, I think that's fine. That is perfectly fine. Bookmark this episode, because I'm going to go ahead and manifest it. In 3 to 5 years, if you come back and listen to the rest of this podcast, it will. And I'm happy to wait for you. It's fine.
When you moved to working for yourself, what was the biggest hurdle for you? Because I feel like a lot of us, one of the biggest hurdles is figuring out, what do I do when I start making money, right? Like we know what to do when we don't have money, because it's easy. But when you start making a little bit of money and trying to be financially responsible, I found that was a tough transition for me, because now it's not like, when you have a W-2 job, you're like, oh, all right, well, taxes are going here, this is going here, this, you have it kind of like all. But when you're for yourself, you're like, ooh, all right, what do I do with this, and how do I make this turn into this? Like, what was one of the struggles that you had when you started to transition over to working for yourself?
I think for me, the struggle was just calculating what my life was worth monetarily. And I make that not to say I'm only worth $2,000 a month, but just understanding what my life, like the life I even can afford for myself now, like what that is, and translating that into okay, so then every month I need to bring in this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that was the hardest transition for me. I didn't really have a problem with the whole saving part of it.
Okay.
Shout out to my mom and dad, though. That's because
shout out to mom and dad.
I just got distilled in the whole
Wait, what's your background?
Save.
What? Like, are your parents from here?
Oh no, yeah, my parents are from here, but they're military.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's what. Yeah, I was trying to figure out. Yeah, because my parents are military too, so it was the same thing. Yeah. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, mom's a nurse, dad retired tech sergeant. So
Gotcha. Okay.
Saving was always I think you and I are probably then, knowing that about you, it's you and I are probably our parents were the first generation sort of out of poverty potentially, and then us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that scarcity mindset's there, but also just they want you to dream big,
on the
but
edge.
also
yeah.
Dancing the line.
Oh yeah. It's I want you to go do your thing, but also be safe about it a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. That's facts.
So for me, it was more that. I think now I'm at a very interesting point where, I think when you're first starting out, you are okay, I know how to plan my life for the next quarter. And then after that, LOL, we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
I'm seeing that landing strip stretch further and further. So now it's all right, I pretty much am good financially, barring any sort of major accident, I'm good financially until August. Okay, well then what does that look like now in regards to future investments? What does that look in regards to is that Roth IRA just chilling? I should probably do something with that,
I should probably put a little bit, I should probably contribute to that. Now that's how I am. I'm looking at them all right, but sometimes you just don't want to see the money go, and it's not going anywhere. It's actually going to a place where it can grow, but in your mind you're I guess I should put this over here. Yeah, no, that's very. It's a weird juxtaposition when, like, because we're always taught how to save and stuff. Like we're just not taught how to invest. That's just what it is. Like we weren't taught, so we have to teach ourselves, and that takes time to kind of like figure that whole thing out. It's a fun journey, but it's also a little bit stressful when you don't know exactly what's going on. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, it's also, and I think that's something that's like prevalent throughout our community, frankly. Like, even saving, I think, is something that is hard to, that isn't necessarily taught, I would say, like widespread, probably across the country, to be honest. Like, I remember I was talking to my financial advisor, and oh man, I can't remember the statistic he told me. But when he told me that even people that are in like considered middle class, governmentally, standardly, or whatever, that they don't necessarily have like 1 month's or 2 months rent saved. I was like, so are you middle class then? Like, what?
That's interesting. I feel like a lot of people don't save like that because their optics are a little different, right? Like they look at 1 or 2 months savings as 1 or 2 months vacation instead, right? Instead of like emergency, they're living life. And there's nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's until something happens and you're like, oh shoot. But I think you should always be at least a little prepared just in case. And because life be lifing. We all know life be life, and so you got to understand that. One thing I want to talk about today, I really was thinking about this. I'm struggling right now learning how to redefine success. Like learning how to, let's say all else fails and I never make a big movie. I never get a big TV show. My business is successful to a point where it doesn't cap over 7-8 figures, but it's steady. Would I still be happy? And I've been really thinking about that and asking myself, would I be happy? And I haven't been able to answer because I think in another book, because I be reading, called The Gap and the Gain, they said one of the worst things that ever happened to the United States was the phrase, the pursuit of happiness. Right?
Yeah.
Because that means we're just always chasing it. So you're always looking for it when actually it's here already in a sense. Like it's already here because it is what you make it. It is to the eye of the beholder, for lack of a better term. Like, and so I've really been thinking about that. Like, all right, if that's what I think is success is oh, you get this, you get that. I got to start really understanding like where my happiness lies. Am I happy when I'm just around my family? Yeah. Am I happy when I just take a walk and I, listening to some music? Like, I think learning to redefine success in my own way is really, it's been starting to help me because I've been really thinking about it. I'm like, all right, success for me now is starting to look like, create a healthy family dynamic. That's successful already because there's so many unsuccessful families, especially in our community, single mothers, single fathers, broken homes, that let's just start with that success first. Let's start with the success of tapping into your inner self and getting healthy and feeling good. That's successful because that success leads to a longer life and boom. So it's just like I've been in this process of like redefining my whole success, which has been really healthy for me, I think. Because, we're all creators. We want to be big and do great things, but life can happen and maybe you won't be the biggest at this, the biggest in that, but you'll be the biggest to your family and to people around you, and you've made a difference and brought value to the world. Now that's successful. Maybe it's not successful in the entertainment eyes or the sports eyes or whatever it is, but it's successful in the eyes of the people who it matter to the most. So that's what I've been kind of working on.
I definitely understand where you're coming from. I know, and I think I'm maybe mid transition. It sounds like you're at the beginning of it.
For sure.
I would say like I'm mid transition of redefining what success is for me. I know for me it started happening when I stopped watching the award shows.
That's
Like
a
I
good
just
point.
didn't
Yeah.
watch them. I stopped, and I used to be really into it. Like I stopped watching the Oscars, the Grammys, Golden Globes. Like I stopped watching all the major award shows because I realized there was a point when I just kind of realized with the type of work that I do and the type of work that I create, like I don't need that to do it. You know what I mean? And that was
Yeah.
enough for me to start to realize like, oh, I also went through a phase where I realized that LA just wasn't a place that I like to be.
Gotcha.
But
Yeah,
that
yeah,
happened
yeah.
to me like really young. That happened to me at like
Yeah.
20.
Yeah. So you
So then it was
you're
like,
like, all right,
oh,
you knew
no.
already. You were like, cool. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to rethink
Yeah.
this whole situation because I
for
don't like
sure.
being here.
For sure. Yeah.
But so yeah, but then like throughout my life I've had these little moments of just interesting interactions with people. Like I remember someone who wasn't particularly religious was just like, God is in the present, so you're only going to hear the message when you're present. If you're trying to think too far ahead, you're stressing yourself out. You're trying to think too far back, you're stressing yourself out. You find the answers in the present. And so like that kind of stuck with me. And so I try to
beautiful,
stay
though.
as present as possible. Whether
Yeah.
you believe in God or not, I think just like a stillness
Yeah.
in the present is important. But I know like the other thing that was interesting too was like I had a very interesting moment happen where I did what I thought success looked like was like owning my first home. And it was like absolutely terrible, incredibly terrible experience. And I realized like, wait, do I even want a house? Like, why did I do this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
I just have had enough moments, I think, happen where it's like, oh, I did everything right and I still failed. I'ma do me.
I'm gonna do me. It's like I don't know if this analogy is gonna work, but I'm just thinking about it from an artist standpoint. It's like success has been painted, right? We see it's been painted. We see the picture from young kids. We see the picture of the house. We see a picture of the cars. We see the picture of the happy family, the smile, and the doggies happy and all that stuff. But now it's like life hands us the paintbrush and we're like, okay. You start to try to paint that same picture and you're like, this ain't, why can't I get it's not coming out the same. But what comes out is your own version of it and it's beautiful, right? And
Yeah.
you've now created this thing. You're like, yeah, it doesn't look like that, but I'm not gonna lie. This abstract art that I got going on over here it's not bad at all. You know? So like that's kind of what it's like.
Something someone told me was just like, instead of asking yourself, are you happy? That is like in the English language, that's a very permanent statement, as if you
Yeah.
can be there and stay there
Yeah.
when you can't.
You
So
can't
it's more about
yeah.
asking like, are you happier now that you've done this or now that
Yeah.
you've done that? Because then
Yeah.
it's a state of like an ever increasing or evolving thing that you can just kind of check in with yourself on.
Something that really blew my mind over the past 2 years, right? So, of course, when we started Dormtainment, it was always the mission of creating comedy that's just different and thinking outside the box. And I think we did a good job of it. It was great. And of course, when you do something for so long, it's hard to let go of something, right? And I'm a very spiritual person, and I talk to God a lot. And I realized that along this journey, God would always give me reminders of the value that I provided. Because my whole thing is, when I leave this earth, what value did I provide in some way? All right.
Yeah.
Because I can't leave you a home. I can't leave you all this other stuff. I mean, I can leave you that stuff, but it eventually fades away. What did I instill in somebody? And we get constant reminders, whether I'm here in California, whether I go back to the East Coast. I meet people who I never thought watched me at all. And they're like, bro, like I grew up on you. I love you guys. Like you saved me through my college days. You made me happy. All these things that I hear. And then I go to like conferences for like Shady Side Up for business and learning e-commerce. And I get to the door and the door guy's like, oh, bro, yeah, come in. We won't charge you that much. We love Dormtainment. And I'm just like, oh, I get it. Like, if Dormtainment doesn't go on to do anything else as a unit, it's okay because it did exactly what it needed to do. Because people remember how you made them feel. And it's always like that. They remember, and so many people are like, yo, that was one of the best times of my life. I would go home, watch you guys religiously. You would make me happy. I would be excited. And I remember that. And it's always telling us thank you. And it gets me emotional every time because I'm like, thank you, God, for reminding me when I get into those low moments and I might be like, oh, man, but we didn't get to do this and get to do that. But like, no, bro, you did a lot. Look at the trail of work. Like, you did a lot of things. Just like when somebody builds a company and then they have to sell it and they're like, hey, we did a lot of things, but we got to let that company go and do its thing and we move on. You'll always have that. And the doors will always be open because that's how good work ends up doing you. Like, you do something good for somebody, they keep on like, hey man, I remember what you did for me. I'm just gonna keep on like helping you out in the long run. Because serving, like, we were serving comedy, we were serving laughs and love and happiness. So it's like, it's just a cool thing to realize now in hindsight. It's like, I think it's done exactly what it needs to do, and that to me is very successful, which is exciting to think about too. Because sometimes you get lost in just doing work, and you're like, oh man, but then you're like, no, look at the. It's like you turn around, look at the fire that you've caused back here, you know. And it's like, could you slow down? Actually, like, you got a lot going on back here, like, so that's the fun part about it. I just think it's a beautiful thing when you start to see those little hints and stuff come up and you're, like you said, you're present and you're like, like, thank you for that. You never know. Like when somebody just says, hey man, you made my day. I loved you guys. Like, great. And they'd be like, oh, okay. I like that. Thank you. To
your point, has it been hard for you? Because I know y'all are together and y'all are still doing a lot of things together, but you don't have that same, y'all have all matured, you know, like,
we're all grown.
Yeah, and so it's like, it's like, has it been hard for you to sort of like let go or like redefine like what Dormtainment is? You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely hard because, of course, we were 6 members, then we turned to 5 members. That was a whole thing, and then of course you get older. I mean, that was 7 years ago now, but you get older, values start changing, people start wanting families. You become adults, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just life. And luckily, a lot of people understand it. Like, yeah, bro, you guys have been to get, like, you have to live your life. Like, you know what I'm saying? It'll always be memory, stuff like that. But the grind of making sketches every week and stuff like that, to be honest, I don't even know if YouTube is even made for that anymore. I mean, for some people it is. Some people it is. I was like, but the return on investment for doing that wouldn't even make sense right now. It doesn't. YouTube, that algorithm doesn't fit that per se on YouTube. It's more shorts. It's more vlog style. It's more fun shows and podcast. Like, that's where YouTube is thriving right now. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you, like any business, you pivot, you figure some things out, and eventually we may just be like, you know what, Dormtainment is just an archive of funny videos. You can go watch it. We're all moving on to different things. We're doing different things with our lives, and that's what it is. Because when I start getting in TV shows or movies or in a writer's room or doing stuff, hey guys, that was that part of my life. Now I'm in this part of my life. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole different part, and I'm completely okay with that now. At first it was tough because they were like, man, I want to keep doing sketches, and I was like, no, it's okay. It's fine because you can do sketches now in different formats or different platforms, and you can write. And writing has become just such a superpower, and it is a superpower, will always be, because a lot of people don't write, and then a lot of people look for writers for stuff, and then they look for writers to do rewrites, and then brand people, they look for writers to be creative director because, like, oh, you can create this thing for me because you're a writer, you know how to tell a story. That's everything that Dormtainment taught us, how to tell stories, how to be quick on the fly, how to improv. Like, all those skills now can be packaged and taken to somewhere else to build your own company or to go help another company or whatever that thing may be. So I think the adjustment isn't hard now. I just understand that life has patterns, and that pattern is just taking what we did before and now putting it in a newer format, maybe longer format, short films, movie, like whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? People can't expect you to keep doing the same thing for 25 years. Like, well, I mean, some people can. Some people do expect that.
Yeah, some people definitely do.
Yeah. Some people are like, stay the same. Keep doing. Why ain't y'all dropping videos every week? Sir, I have a wife with a baby on the way. What do you want me to do?
Like, it's not happening.
It's not happening. But so yeah, I think, like you said, you've been on YouTube a while. We've been on YouTube a while. Us that have been on YouTube, we just see how the landscape changes every few months, every couple years. Like, it's just a different ball game.
Was it hard for you to? Because yeah, you've gone through so many shifts. Was there ever a time when it was hard for you to like redefine what your worth was during a shift? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I had to come up, because people would ask me, so what is it that you do, that people who didn't know me? And I would start to think, and I'd be like, well, I mean, I do podcasts. I'm a writer. I mean, I do sketch. I be acting and I do commercials. You start thinking like, all right, I do a couple things. So I was like, I'm a creative entrepreneur. And they were like, oh, okay, I like that. And I was like, oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, pretty much that's what. And so once I defined that, I was like, it feels good because I'm not boxed in. Like, I'm not just saying I'm a podcaster, because then they're gonna be like, but I seen you on the commercial.
Yes, you over there with Best Buy trying to get mama.
So are you podcasting? Are you? And I'm like, oh yeah. Or you be like, I just do commercial acting, but then you tell me you do creative directing for so it's like, I'm just a creative entrepreneur. Like, this season of my life, I may be working on a commercial. The next season of my life, I may be building up the podcast. Next season of my life, I may be like, hey guys, I'm gonna be away for a little while. I'm writing a book. Cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have this life to live, and I want to live it to its fullest, and I want to make sure that I leave all my gifts here, because the worst thing you have is regret. And I can't. Oh, that makes me throw up a little bit when I think about it. I just don't want to have that. I'm just gonna get all of it out here. Take it. Just take it. And eventually something will trump the other, because that one big thing happened like over time, and then you'll be like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay in this area now. Whether it could be writing, be like, you know what? I'm a full-time book writer, script writer, and that's just where I'm at now. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely know when it comes to creative, I don't box people in. Like, when you look at Jim Carrey and how, his career, did Live in Color and all this stuff, then he was straight acting for a while. Then he did some serious dramas, which was, I was like, wow. He did that. And then now he was randomly painting. I was like, oh, I didn't know he was a painter like that. Yeah. so you got to let people live, especially creatives. You got to let them go through the seasons. Like, that's what they want to do. Like, if they're happy, like, great. I'm happy.
Something I think that's really interesting for you is I feel like artists have no problem of like identifying with a creative mindset and like, well, I'm going to do this now and I'm going to do that now and so on and so forth. But I think something that I find fascinating about you is that you seem to have a good balance of marrying like the creative spirit and like the business acumen side. Like the fact that you're sitting here telling me like, oh, and my business coach and also my business partner were like, get in where you fit in on this thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, is that something that you instinctively had since like the beginning, or is that something you learned you needed to develop?
I feel like I just always had that. I feel like I use the word streamline. I like things to be just kind of streamlined. So take Shady Side Up, for example. It's a sunglasses company, but it's based off of like what we love, which is positivity. We want people to look at, put on our frames, feel positive, change the perspective on where they meet. Like certain frames, they have a rose-colored tint to them. So when you put them on, it's like a rose-colored lens. They want you to be happy, like all these things. But the fun part about it is I get to streamline my creativity into it, because we pretty much creative direct our commercials for it, or our skits for it. You know what I'm saying? So that's us doing that. So we still get to film, get to be funny. And then I get to be a business person when I get to like take this. Now I get to send this to our ads manager and be like, hey, let's get some Facebook ads run on this thing. So I get to easily, it's like, it's not so separate. It's all in one thing, you know. Then if I wanted to, I could go on a podcast and talk about the business. So now I'm podcasting and I'm talking about the business, and it's all streamlined again. When I discovered that I could kind of streamline it all, it gave me such a relief, because at first I'm like, oh God, how am I going to still be creative and funny inside of the sunglasses business? I was like, oh, well, it's my business, so just do it how I would do it. So our names of our shades are sometimes funny. The descriptions of the shades are funny. The promos that we're going to do for it. Comedy is never going anywhere. No matter what I do, I could probably work in a law firm, and I'm going to tell them, like, listen, I'm sorry, y'all going to get these jokes. It's just what's going to happen. It's just what's going to happen. When something is in you, you can't take it away. It's just there, you know. You can't take it away. So anything I do in life, whatever facet of life I go down, I'm going to always have that portion. So that's what I think keeps me, like, feeling good. I'm like, to know that I can always be myself and have comedy, because comedy is universal. It ain't going nowhere, you know. Because somebody sees something funny on the website, they're like, let me click on this. This is kind of funny. Let me see what this is, you know. It just makes it easier, you know, easier to palate. So yeah, but I think I always kind of just had that for some reason, which I'll take it as a gift from God, because I know sometimes it's hard for people to kind of like handle like all of them, but I haven't had trouble doing that.
Is there anything that you like wanted to make sure you talked about?
And just for any creator listening, anybody, actually any human listening, like, I'm just in a space where, like, I'm gonna die one day. And so I've been in such a space where, like, even if it sounds morbid or whatever, but it's just like, what else do I have to lose that's more important than my life? You know what I'm saying? So I started thinking, I'm just like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Like, I just started really thinking about it. And I don't know if it's because I went on this tangent of looking like at the mass shootings and stuff that was happening because something else happened. I'm looking at stuff and I'm just thinking about the people that just were out and about and life just ended or stuff. And I'm just like, they probably had so many things that they were either waiting to do, scared to do. And I'm just like, nah, man, I can't. It's like I'm doing I'm letting it out. I'm using my resource. I'm just letting it out. If you guys think it's bad, I don't care. I don't care if you think it's bad. I don't care. I'm just going to get it done. I'm gonna write the script. I'm gonna do so I just started writing stuff. I just started doing, and it gave me a new energy. And I'm like, oh yeah, I like this energy. Let me keep on, because you just don't know. So anybody who's listening, like, use your gifts. You got it. Like, it's there for you. It's there for you to use. It's there for you to have. And you're gonna die. So remember that and use that as fuel to live. You know, a lot of people know they're gonna die but have no idea how to live. And that's the biggest thing I want people to remember. Use what you can while you're here. And just make yourself proud. Don't even worry about other people. Make yourself proud. Be satisfied with, like, you know what? I'm on the deathbed, but man, I did that. I handled that. You know, that's the biggest thing.
I'm so happy we ended season 2 with Rome. You know, those final words from him, while morbid, are true. You know, time is finite, and unfortunately none of us know how much of it we have, and so it's about, in this lifetime, trying to make the most of the time you do have and not leave anything on the table. Don't leave anything on the field. You know what I'm saying? In the comments below, feel free to let me know your thoughts around season 2 as a whole. Did you have a favorite episode? Were there things that you maybe thought I could have done better? Like I said, I love constructive criticism just as much as the next person. You know, I don't want to be in an echo chamber. Not at all. And also in the comments below, if there is a season 3, who would you like me to talk to next? Please let me know in the comments below, because I'm not going to lie to y'all. I try to fill voids in creativity, you know, that I see on the internet. But also I recognize that who I'm asking to interview are, I think, a certain caliber of people at a certain phase of their career, etc. So yeah, let me know if you are interested in seeing, like, what other types of creatives are you interested in me interviewing. I know for season 1, someone had mentioned I should try to interview like more dancers, etc. And I took note of that. I did. It was just hard to find some for this season. But yeah, in the comments below, thoughts, questions, concerns, meditations, affirmations, all of the things. I love to hear from y'all. I really do. I really appreciate it. Again, I'm Hallease, endeavoring to persevere as always, and thank you so much for listening to season 2 of the Trying to Be Somebody video podcast, where I interview mostly people of color about their creative careers with the goal of helping you. I will see you when I see you. The Trying to Be Somebody video podcast is a StumbleWell production. Its executive producer and host is me, Hallease. The podcast is edited by Christopher Narvaez. Our cover art for season 2 was designed by the amazing, the talented Natasha Cunningham. Check her out on Instagram at AboutNatLife. Finally, the theme song for the Trying to Be Somebody video podcast was written and performed by Belief in Music and produced by Jruckers.